I have to say, few films have baffled me quite as much as today's movie has. Hey everybody, today we are chatting about Luca Guadagnino's latest film, After the Hunt. I feel like this man is making films like 5 times per year. It's crazy, it's awesome, but this film was interesting. I kind of have to admit that this might be my least favorite film of his that I have seen, so ooh. Now, it does have a very stacked cast, I will give him that. After the Hunt stars Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, Ayo Edebiri, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Chloë Sevigny. This is a very, I would say, stuffy academic film in a sense. It takes place at Yale, where Julia Roberts plays this very respected professor of philosophy. In this academic world, she has Maggie, played by Ayo, one of her star doctorate students that is kind of her right-hand woman in the classroom, and Hank, played by Andrew Garfield, her colleague, and they are both going up for tenure. Michael Stuhlbarg plays her husband, while Chloë Sevigny plays a kind of liaison to students. Things seem to be going pretty well for all of these people until Maggie tells Alma that she was sexually assaulted by Hank. And Alma is put in this very strange, weird situation where she just kind of doesn't know how to handle the situation, both with Maggie and Hank, and we kind of see the unraveling of the events from that point forward. Now, in the last few years, we have gotten a few films about cancel culture and sexual assault and all of the fallout following the Me Too movement, and I think a lot of people will be able to draw comparisons to Tar in this film, both about just these people, academics dealing with allegations of sexual misconduct, assault against them. And the difference with Tar versus After the Hunt is I think Tar does it far, far better and is a much more interesting film than After the Hunt. This film just really baffled me. I am still kind of trying to put into words all of my feelings about it, but I did share on Letterboxd and on Twitter that this is just kind of a bad vibes, nasty type of film. People are just so rude and so angry and just lacking any compassion and empathy in this film that already rubbed me the wrong way in a sense. Like, absolutely no one is being at all kind to Maggie as she is dealing with this situation and trying to understand how to process it and how to go forward. Alma reacts very negatively to her in the beginning, which, you know, it's understandable. It's kind of coming at you all at once and she doesn't exactly know how to respond, so I'll give her a little bit of grace for that. But just as this film goes on, it's just these very bad vibes, and Alma and Maggie's relationship is very tense, and there are so many weird conversations that happen between the two of them, between pretty much everyone. Hank, of course, is in a very bad situation, and he is being very intense toward Alma. He is not confronting Maggie per se, but obviously there are a few scenes where his emotions get the best of him. And even Alma's relationship with her husband is very strange. I just cannot figure out this film for the life of me. I will say that I think Julia Roberts is pretty great in this role. Her outfits, very chic black blazers and white tan color pants, give off lots of Woody Allen movie vibes, and I think in general this film kind of has that atmosphere of it too. Even though her character's actions morally and the way that I interpret them are not necessarily my favorite, I do think that this is a very interesting role for her. It's kind of one of the bigger roles that she has had since August Osage County, I would say. I just think that it's quite meaty and she gets to play into a number of different situations and thorny areas that Alma has to navigate, both with this situation and just her own life, as a lot of details kind of surface And her relationship with Maggie is also very interesting. I got a little bit of All About Eve vibes because the more time Maggie spends with her and the more time we see this movie progress, we see Maggie start dressing very similar to Alma. They have the same black nail polish on at certain moments, and so it's kind of interesting to see the student becoming the teacher in a way. I think my biggest gripe with this film is that bad vibes and nastiness that it gives off. There is just so much bitterness and contempt that is thrown at younger generations in this film. It's about gender identity, sexual orientation, their backgrounds, their families, and I don't want to say that I'm necessarily like a defender of Gen Z or anything like that, and I'm taking this hard stance. It was just really weird that that is kind of where this film kept going. Alma very often uses the incorrect pronouns for Maggie's partner. There is a very funny line that she says to them. At one point she says something like, "Don't you have some protest to go to?" So there is a little bit of humor to be found in that, which I do wish this film leaned a little bit more into. But just in general, it just had like really weird vibes throughout it. And it's also not even just that the older people in this film have this contentment over some of these hot button issues in our society. There's one student that is talking to Alma and Hank about if it comes down to having to choose one of them for their tenure, they're going to pick Alma because there is a fight against the white, straight, cis man. And it was just kind of like a record scratch, really weird thing to say in the middle of this party setting. I think also too, because this is held in an academic setting and Yale of all places, it just has these very stuffy academic conversations throughout it. I kind of feel like my eyes rolled back into my head at one point just because I was like, what are any of you even talking about? I was a very good student in school, but I have no clue what is happening here. And I feel like maybe the writer also didn't really know how to have these elevated academic conversations. I think Andrew Garfield is pretty solid in this film too. His character is obviously dealing with the allegations that are made against him and everything is falling apart in his life. He doesn't really know how to control the situation. He basically says that he has already lost, and I think it is quite interesting to see him grappling with that. I would say Ayo is probably the weakest among this trio. To be fair, she is going up against an Oscar winner and a Academy Award nominee, so that is a bit intimidating in and of itself. She is also very much known for her comedic skills, so this is kind of placing her in a different wheelhouse. I do think she does a fine job with her character, but ultimately, I think the script just kind of fails her. All these people are always just saying very nasty comments about her. There's always commentary about her coming from a rich family and not having to work for anything. And sure, that might be true, but again, it just feels so weird that these people are always so rude to her despite her very much going through a very real, very difficult time in her life, and I just don't know why nobody wanted to show this young woman any compassion. I love Michael Stuhlbarg. I feel he is kind of acting in a very different film from everybody else. He is not aloof, but he has like these very quirky things that he does at one point in the film where he is blasting music while Alma and Maggie are trying to have a very intense conversation. It just seems off. However, I will say that I do kind of wish this movie had some more of the vibes that he was giving off. I just associate Luca Guadagnino with not necessarily lighter films, but there's always a bit more humor in his films, and while there are a few funny lines here or there in this movie, I wish that there was a better blend of what his strengths are as a filmmaker incorporated into all of this. We do get some very nice hues captured in this film. I will say that it very much bothered me that a lot of scenes were shot like this, where the top of the heads were taken off. That just really bothered me throughout this film. And then the score was just kind of baffling to me too. It felt so out of place, which is not what I usually expect with Reznor and Ross. Their scores are usually very much in lockstep with the feelings and the motions that Guadagnino is giving off in his movies, let alone the number of other films and filmmakers they've worked with in the past. So I don't know. I don't know what was going on with this film. Luca did not write the script. It was written by Nora Garrett. And so while I appreciate that a woman wrote this story and took on this very serious topic, I just feel like there was so much that was trying to be crammed in here, and so much different commentary, both on gender, on power plays, on race, on financial backgrounds, on just these divides between generations, that I think it's a little too much. And I think that's why ultimately I don't really know how to even talk about this film properly and really get into the points that it's trying to make. Of course, it is talking about cancel culture. Of course, it is talking about these dynamics when you have somebody in authority coming after someone who is in less of authority. You have a storyline with Alma's own personal background too that kind of ties into all of this, but I just think that it's a little too sloppy and messy, and the point doesn't really come across. There are certain lines in this film, like not everything is supposed to make you feel comfortable. Maybe that is the overarching theme with this film and what we're supposed to take away. You're not necessarily supposed to fully understand everything, which sure, okay, I get that. And all of these topics are very complex, and we have seen them play out in many different ways in society. But it's a little different in a film, I would think. I would think that you would want to make your intentions very clear, or at least just help guide the audience. The final scene too, between Alma and Maggie, I still just don't really understand what their conversation is about. I think honestly I was probably just checked out of this film at that point. I just didn't even give it the full chance that it needed. I do want to revisit this film at some point. I don't know. Like I said, I'm baffled, I'm perplexed, but that's okay. I will say, if you do want to see a film from this year that handles a sexual assault case that takes place on a campus in a very nuanced and far better way, in my opinion, I would say watch Ava Victor's Sorry Baby. That is a very, very touching film and tackles this topic in a new way that I haven't seen before, and I don't think you'll regret watching that. I gave After the Hunt 2 out of 5 stars when I got out of the theater. We'll see how that changes, if that changes when I revisit this. But yeah, not really my favorite effort from Luca Guadagnino, but that's okay. They can't always be perfect. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you here next time.